coverage like this from NBC, ABC, and CBS dominated the news in the late 1980s and 90s and shortly before 9/11, as journalists attempted to shed light on the widening war in the southern Sudan. A byproduct of British colonialism, the Sudan is a country largely shackled together with Arab Muslims in the north and black Christians in the south. As seen in this ABC broadcast footage, in 1987, the Khartoum Arab government systematically began driving people from their villages in the south. What followed was a mass exodus of young boys who were forced to flee their homes or die. They were called the Lost Boys by the relief workers because of the Peter Pan story. The boys spent 3 months struggling to make their way to Ethiopia and the sanctuary of refugee camps. The young girls had value. They could be sold into slavery or marriage. The fate of the young boys, however, was even more perilous. The Khartoum government decided it was easier to kill children rather than to face them as young men with weapons, and so the killing began. The village elders managed to save many of the boys and get them on the road, with little or no food, water, or shelter. Only those with the strongest will managed to survive. Numbers vary. However, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees believe that somewhere between 30,000 and 27,000 young boys began their journey to their first refugee camp. Some lost the will to live, and they died along the way. Others were simply too young or too weak to keep up. Adding to the chaos and the misery, lions hunted and picked off those that were unable to keep moving. For those that had survived the 3 months on the road and managed to make their way to Ethiopia, life in the refugee camp was extremely difficult. Despite help from the United Nations, the Lost Boys continued to struggle for survival. It wasn't enough. The Lost Boys had to cross rivers to make it to the safety of Kenya. As depicted in these drawings by one of the youngsters that survived, they also had to face more troops, drowning, and also crocodiles. Those that survived the second trek would go on to live at the refugee camp at Kakuma in Kenya. Life was still very difficult, but boys focused on their education and the hope of a better life. They would spend another 9 years at the Kakuma refugee camp. Estimates vary on the numbers, but it is believed that around 11,000 of the Lost Boys somehow survived. Starting in 2001, around 3,800 of the youngsters, who are now young men, resettled to the United States, where they're now living in 39 cities across the U.S. With the help of various religious organizations and groups, a number of the Lost Boys have made a remarkable transition to living in America.
Right, my name is Joseph Bong. My actually name that was given to me by my father was Gator, G-A-T-T-U-O-R. I'm from Sudan. Was born in 1980. I'm one of the Lost Boys who came to the United States in 2001. My background history actually, I lost my parents when I was 11 years old, and the reason was because of the civil war that had happened in Sudan between the rebel and the government. I left my parents in 1989. I went to Ethiopia working by food. It took us almost 3 months to reach Ethiopia. And on the way, it was really a hard life for us. We don't have no water, food, and we work with the bar food without juice, without enough clothes too. And we've been in Ethiopia for the camp called Boma. We've been there for almost 3 months, and then after that, the Ethiopian government and the rebel, break out the war, and then we have to come back to Sudan. And from there, when we came back to Sudan, government, the northern government, with the Sudan government, start bombing wherever we stop. The government would bomb the place, then we move on until we reach to Kenya.
My name is Sam, one of the Lost Boys. I was born in a village called Lair in southern Sudan. Approximately, I left my country when I was 7 years old. That's what I can say, because I really don't know exactly if that's true or not. I take the history of the Lost Boy in a different perspective, because I call myself a child soldier, because I was forced, because I was the only boy in my family. They told my parents that you go to school, but they were taking me to the military. Would come demanding us to be taken to camp training. I happened to be one of the boys who outsmart them, because I still look small, and I did my own smart way by pretending I'm sick every day. Every time they come, I feel like I'm sick, but emotionally I was outsmarting. And we had not enough teachers. We go to school like an hour a day, and only like people who have class 3 primary level are the ones that were teaching us. And when we were asked, we write on the dirt, because those were the only papers and pen we could find. So the pen was in my hand, and my book, or my notebook, was the sand. So we put the sand, you make math, and you do everything in it. I lived in Kenya for 10 years. Life in refugees was harder.
On the 9th of July, Africa's biggest country, Sudan, will split into two. The South formally becomes an independent country. South Sudan will be one of Africa's biggest countries. It will be bigger than the combined area of 3 of its neighbors, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. A peace agreement signed in 2005 ended decades of war between Southern Sudan and the north of the country. Under the terms of this agreement, Southerners would be given a chance to decide whether they wanted to be independent. In January this year, they voted overwhelmingly in a referendum to have a new country, Southern Sudan. Not really. There have been clashes between militias in the south and South Sudanese government forces. And in May, forces from Northern Sudan entered Abyei, the contested border region. Abyei lies at the center of significant oil deposits. Western countries like the United States, Britain, and Norway were key sponsors of the peace agreement which ended the war between the North and the South. Kenya played a major role in this. There are strong cultural and business links between Southern Sudan and its neighbors like Kenya and Uganda. And recently, the UN authorized Ethiopia to send thousands of peacekeeping troops to Abyei.
My name is Matthew O'Reilly. I'm one of the Lost Boys from Sudan. We think that having educated the children is the only way we can change the life that our parents and the life that we went through, to be able to raise money to build a school so that kids can go to school and learn and have hope for the future.
Now this one is the God Primary School, Chodian God Primary School. Last time I was a pupil here, and this school was beginning since 1994. Up to now, people are still sitting under the tree. So we want you people to assist us with the building of this school. So as I'm the representative of this school, and the head teacher of this school is not around now. Me, I'm a student teacher, I'm not a teacher. But when I come from the school there, I get those people, the teachers are few here, and we involve ourselves to assist those people. So, as the population, the people are still few because there is no building. So, I think the population of this school will reach up to 300 something.
This school is a school girl. We do have no building. We do have no exercise. We do have no textbook. We do have no anything from this school. But this school need to have knowledge. They want to have knowledge.